Hey everybody, Unsalted Organics here, and we are getting an early start to our spring vegetable garden. So the first thing that we do, let's check this out first. So I have some jalapeno peppers and jardinera peppers under the Bloom Plus 1000 watt LED, germinated on the 25th. I think they're going, or went in the soil on the 25th. I think they're on day 9 or 10 right now, and nothing poking through the soil yet. But with peppers, they have about a 7 to 21 day germination rate, so I'm not really worried. I have a little dome off here right now, giving them some air, but it's usually around 99% humidity and about 70 degrees when the dome is on. Generally, we like a little bit warmer temperatures when we're germinating, but I don't have a heating pad, and it's not getting under any temperatures that I'm actually worried about. So we're just waiting. So that's that. What we're doing today is we are getting our soil ready. Now here at Unsalted Organics, we do everything organically, and I do that in the form of dry amendments that I'll go over. Our base soil right here is a ProMix HP mycorrhizae. It's just a base soil with no fertilizers in it. Has mycorrhizae in it already. I get the one with a little bit more perlite because I don't add perlite to the soil. So that's our base here, and we're gonna go over a couple of the nutrients and what I actually put in the soil. Where's my goddamn notepad? I lost my notepad, guys. On my notepad. All right, cool. So the first thing we're starting off is 10 gallons of the ProMix mycorrhizae, and we are starting with our down-to-earth oyster shell. Oyster shell is a neutral, no NPK. It is a source of calcium and a pH buffer for the soil because growing organic, the pH of your soil is very, very important, so this helps regulate it. So I use 20 tablespoons or a cup and a quarter of that. Next, we go to alfalfa meal. Alfalfa meal is 2.5, 0.5, 2.5, so not really heavy on the nitrogen or the phosphorus. Now you'll see with the stuff that I'm coming in, besides maybe the neem meal back there, nothing in these boxes is super heavy on the NPK unless it's for potassium. The things that we're putting in here, they're not nitrogen or phosphorus based. The bags are, but we'll get into that. These are just buffers for the soil. Every single one of these boxes does something different for your organic soil. And the alfalfa meal soil conditioner to slow release nitrogen. So there is nitrogen there, but it's all slow release. It will not burn your plant. So you can pretty much put as much of that in there as you want. And it promotes major growth stimulation. So this is like an organic growth stimulator. And I put 3 3/4 cups in there, and 10 gallons or 60 tablespoons. Next, rock dust, azomite. Azomite stands for A to Z of minerals, including trace elements. The azomite has I think it's like 90-something trace minerals that are important to plant life. A lot of people will argue about the use of rock dust because they don't think that it actually goes into the soil. Like it takes hundreds of years for the rock to actually break down. But the azomite that I use is finely ground into a powder. So I do like to believe I'm getting trace minerals into that. And it, so that's pretty much it. Just adds minerals to your soil. 0, 0, 0.2. Next. Langbonite. Langbonite is a source of potassium, magnesium, and sulfur, 3 essential nutrients in your soil. Now, 0, 0, 22. You think 22 is a high number for an NPK, but the potassium is not what burns your plants. Overexposure to nitrogen or phosphorus when the plants aren't ready, that is what hurts your plants. So this is just a solid source of potassium, magnesium, and sulfur. It has a neutral pH. Next, let's bring it up. Kelp meal. Kelp meal is a stress mitigator. It helps your plants deal with shock, whether it be through training or transplanting or weather. This is just pretty much a stress mitigator. count me all, 0.12. So these do have a little bit of nitrogen and phosphorus in them, but not really enough to actually act as the main source of nitrogen or phosphorus. Neem seed meal, 612. This is going to be the heaviest on the nitrogen that I use, but I use the neem seed meal as kind of like a natural pest control, because putting this in your soil, it helps against nematodes, some varieties of fungus gnats, and it also helps prevent powdery mildew. So neem seed. Plants need calcium. CalMag, Roots Organic, naturally sourced. All right, and this is where I get my my nitrogen and my phosphorus, guys. Now these are all slow release fertilizers. Shite. Start off with the seabird guano. Now I break the phosphorus into two different parts with the seabird guano and the terp tea bloom. So I use 5 teaspoons of each of those. That's my main source of phosphorus. It is all slow release fertilizer, so it's not going to use it until the plant is ready. For the nitrogen, I use terp tea grow, 10 teaspoons of that. And what you get here is a beautiful lasagna. Mwah! It's so beautiful. Look at it. It's earth lasagna. I don't have all 10 gallons of dirt in there yet. I put about half of the dirt in there, or 3/4 of the dirt in there. Then I lay the amendments down. I have a little bit of dirt right there. And we are going to do some worm castings organic fertilizer on that. The worm casting is going to go in. It's 1 part of the fertilizer for 4 parts of the soil. So I believe it's either 2.5 or 3.5 gallons. I have it written down. So we are going to put the rest on that, and we'll be right back. And there we have it. I have all the soil, all the amendments, the worm castings in there. Now, this isn't, if I was going to be doing, like if this was a cannabis grow, and this soil is what the plants were going to live in for their entire lives, there's a couple of more things I would add to there. I would add insect frass. Insect frass is essentially the insect poop from insects that feed on leaves. That contains protozoa that feed on the microbes, so you don't have to wait for the microbes to break down and die to be uptaken by the roots. The protozoa and the insect frass would eat that, poop it out, and then those nutrients would be uptakeable by the roots immediately. So we're not adding that since these are going to be going outside. And I also would have added biochar. Now biochar doesn't really add anything to the soil. Excuse me. But what it does is it gives the microbial life somewhere to colonize. They colonize inside the bits of charcoal. So that's not in there either, because these are going to be going outside in the ground, not in pots. So there we have it. We have added, now all this needs is warmth, water, and time. Now you add about 10% water to the soil in there. I have 12.5 gallons of stuff, or of medium in there, so I added 1.25 gallons of water. We use distilled water because when you're growing organically, you can't use chlorinated water. The chlorine will kill the microbial life in your soil.
What were you doing?
Yeah, the chlorine will kill the microbial life in your soil. So we use distilled water from the store at this point. Eventually, when I start using more water, I will be using city water with an air pump, and I'll let it flow or let it bubble for 24 hours, let it dechlorinate. But for right now, we're not going through a lot of water, and so I just used distilled water from the store. So, time, moisture, and darkness. The night. So now our soil is essentially cooking. The microbial life is going to have time to colonize and multiply and intake all those minerals that we just put in the soil. So we're good to go, man. Now it's just a waiting game. I will be planting more soon. Like I said, I only have the jalapenos and the bell pepper, or the jardinieras right now. I will be planting bell peppers, red and yellow. I will be doing a couple different varieties of lettuce, and I will actually be doing some herbs also because we're going to be doing companion plants in the garden this year. So we got some cool stuff on the horizon, man. As always, thanks for checking in. This is Unsalted Organics. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.